Hello everyone, this is LW Gaming and welcome to a brand new installment of Future Langrisser, and this is a collab episode. That's right, it is the Guyver collab major update that's coming up next in Global, starting on the 25th of April. And I believe some of you are aware of what Guyver is. I myself never watched Guyver, personally. Kind of wish I do, but I don't think... I did see a little glimpse of it, but it's not... I didn't watch much about Guyver at all, so sorry if I actually mispronounced their names in advance. So yeah, let's get right into what those new heroes are. And keep in mind, there are three new heroes. So this episode might take longer than it should be because this is the format I actually haven't done for collabs ever, because the first time I did the info breakdown is starting with Lemia and Andrio. So yeah, you can already tell this is going to be a long one, which I apologize because I'm not used to this format still, but at least this is the first time I'm trying to format this with the collab. So anyways, let's get right into what those characters are. So first off, this one is Sho, or known as Sho Fukamachi, or known as Guyver 1, depending on how you're going to call him, but I'll call him Sho for short. Anyways, his talent, force breeding, which is a unique talent. Attack and defense plus 10 to 25% depending on your star level. At the start of the round, randomly gains one type of force breeding evolution that you don't already have, which cannot be dispelled and lasts for 2 turns. And if you take advantage of this benefit provided by your force breeding evolution, the power will increase, and also the effect will become permanent. So you can think of this like a soda, but you had to do certain conditions to make it permanent. So just keep that in mind. When the upgrade activates, you immediately gain an additional force breeding evolution that you don't already have. So if you already got one permanent, you get another one that will last 2 turns. So yeah, make sure you do these uh, conditions as soon as possible, because the more you do those, the more you will the more you take advantage of those, the more you'll keep them. And here are the force breeding evolutions. So you got gravity control, which basically increases your mobility by 1. If you take advantage of this by a lot, your upgrade version will be mobility plus 2. So, and also it's gonna be permanent. So yeah, you can already tell this is gonna get really good. And then we got super resilience. This one restores 20% of HP after battle. And when it upgrades, this one basically like upgrades when HP exceeds 90% after combat, and the healing effect will be doubled. So as long as you're staying healthy, you'll keep this effect forever. And then yeah. Anyways, so I forgot to explain how you can improve them. So you improve the gravity control by moving at least 5 blocks per round. So yeah, if you're able to move that far in advance, you will get this mobility up permanently, which is pretty awesome. And there's no way your opponent could dispel it. So just keep that in mind if you worry about getting the spell. It's not gonna work. Thankfully, we have super sense as well. When attacked, attack first before the enemy. And then this will upgrade at the end of the action when in danger zone. So if you're standing in danger zone while attacking people like this, your attack part will also do first strike. So yeah, if you're able to end your action in the danger zone with this buff on, like super sense, like not only you're defensive, you can also use this offensively, which is pretty awesome. Because I don't think there's any unit, well, besides Sakura, for example. uh, Basically, if your skill's higher, like for Sakura, if your skill's higher, you attack first. But for Sho, he gets to attack first. When this buff is applied first time, he will get to attack first if he's under attack. But if this is the upgraded version, he can first strike at any time, which is insane. And then the ultrasonic, which is the other one, which is and keep in mind the names I'm saying here are probably gonna change for global, because Zilong is no stranger of changing things for the global version. So yeah, so just keep that in mind. This is just a rough idea of what they are. So ultrasonic basically increases the attack range plus one by 1, and then this will upgrade after combat if you took no damage. And then if you're able to successfully upgrade this, you get the range of +2. So which is pretty good because Sho Fukamachi extra range is like she pretty good. Like there's no saying something like extra range is weak. No, extra range is a big deal in Langrisser, especially how Lucretia has been used with the full range tile. Like Jesus, I remember back in the day when I first used her, I was like, holy moly, look at that range. So yeah. Anyways, next, and then finally we have high frequency wave. This was like ignore 15% of the enemy's defense. This will upgrade when successfully killing an enemy. And if you're able to kill the enemy this way, the effect will be increased by double. So instead of 15%, the upgrade version is 30%. So I could say this is pretty strong when it comes to offensive DPS. So yeah, if you're able to upgrade high frequency wave, you basically can be unstoppable depending on how you use Sho. He can be good in some situations, but in PvP, it mostly depends on how you play. Because for this to work, you're gonna need to like do certain conditions for it to be upgraded. So yeah, you can tell this is gonna be a bit underwhelming in some cases. Like for example, gravity control, you do need to move five blocks if you have it to keep it permanent. And then super resilience, if your HP, that one should be easy to do because if your HP is above 90% after combat, like it has to be after combat. So yeah, as long as you fight but kept it at that certain amount, you should be able to keep that forever. Super sense, that one, it's an interesting one. Like yeah, as long as you end your action in danger zone, the attack first will also apply on active attacking. So yeah, you can already tell what those are. So you can tell Sho is going to be a bit slow, but at least he does have some unique mechanism in his talent. Anyway, so we're gonna move on. There's just too much rumbling going on with Sho, so let's get going. We have the skills. So this time around, at first I thought that he comes with like 3 skills as usual for other heroes, but this one, no, this one comes with 5 unique skills. So anyways, the 1C skill he had is Protective Mask. Before being attacked and entering combat, gains Defensive Shield, which basically is a mini shield for himself. Blocks 20% of the HP from damage, and cannot be dispelled. So this is kind of like a Kruger shield in some ways, but this is his own personal shield. When he's attacked, he will gain those amount of shields. So that's actually pretty awesome, which means he will survive a bit more than he normally would. And then he also has another 1-cost skill on here. It's called Cap Regeneration. This is another passive skill. This one is the revive part. So after death, place the control box in place. At the start of the next round, Sho will recover from it and enter the over defense state, which makes him uncontrollable and will not be damaged by an active attack. And it cannot be dispelled. And this will last 1 turn. After this effect is removed, it can act again. And it can trigger again after 4 turns. So yeah, you can already tell this is gonna get pretty broken, don't you think? Well, of course, there's a limit on here. So if you're not able to destroy Sho on time, you are gonna pretty much gonna have a rough time against Sho. But in Apex settings, I don't know, things could be different because if you kept Sho alive for too long, he will get that revive back. Yeah, and there's no way you can try to stop him because because there's no like a recovery penalty each time. So like unlike most heroes we saw so far, like Goon, he has like a revive, like a healing effect reduced for each revive. Well, for Sho, it doesn't have it. So yeah, you can already tell that you're gonna have to get rid of him immediately as soon as he gets revived. Like you have like a short period, like the short window to kill him. Otherwise, he's gonna be a bit trouble for you. And then for 2C skill he has is like High Frequency Sword. It is a 2-turn cooldown, is a melee attack, and is a single target. And this one attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.3 times damage. and it dispels 2 buffs from the enemy before combat. This skill ignores 20% of the enemy's defense. So this is basically roar skill plus the ability to ignore 20% of enemy defense. So it's kind of like Reaper's Rev in some ways, but except the healing. So you can already tell this skill is going to be pretty solid for a 2C skill. The other one he had is an interesting one as well. It's called Gravity Crit. And it's a 3-turn cooldown. One is a melee attack kind of thing, and it's a single target. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.5 times damage. Before combat, all effects of mobility buff on the enemy are dispelled. The enemy's mobility becomes -2 and can't guard. And this will last 1 turn and can't be dispelled. So yeah, if your enemy happens to have mobility buff on themselves, those ones will get removed, and also it is replaced with a mobility -2, and they are unable to guard. So yeah, this skill is pretty strong. Well, it's ineffective if your opponent has gospel or anything that prevents it. So just keep that in mind. And finally, we have the 3C skill, Chest Cannon. The passive part of this is that at the end of the action, if you have 3 or more types of force breathing evolutions, this cooldown of all skills will be reduced by 1 turn. And the physical component here is it attacks one enemy, dealing 1.8 times damage. Before combat, damage dealt plus 20% to the enemy. It cannot be dispelled and lasts 2 turns. Melee soldiers will also attack. This skill ignores melee damage penalty. So yeah, this skill is a ranged damage type. So yeah, it's a single target and the cooldown is pretty long, 5 turns. So yep, this is a powerful skill. And also, if you have melee soldiers, they will attack with you. So which is like most of the skills it does. Like if you have melee soldiers, they will attack with you. Like air slash, for example. Even though melee soldiers weren't able to attack normally, but the skill tells them to attack anyways. So yeah, this is actually the trend going on with the range skills on melee units. So yeah, it's nice to have this here. Anyways, we'll move on to the next hero, which I think this is more meta for Apex, but I'm not saying meta-wise, I'm just saying that he is an exception when it comes to usage in the PvP front. So anyways, Archanfel, which is the other hero we have. And once again, I apologize if I mispronounced their names, but I'm pretty sure this one is called Archanfel, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, his talent is called Price of Salvation. This one ignores class disadvantage, and int is increased by 10 to 20% depending on star level. And I forgot to explain what kind of classes they are. So, anyways, for Sho, his class is an infantry, and the factions he's part of is Protagonist, Mythical Realm, and Heroes of Time. And for Archanfel, he is a demon, and the factions wise, he's part of your less, Mythical, and Heroes of Time. So yep, Archanfel is a demon, even though he is kind of weak against Hollies, but his talent negates that. So yeah, basically it ignores classes' advantage, and also his int will be increased by a certain amount. And also initially has 15 stacks of energy. Using a skill will not cause it to enter cooldown. To use a skill, you need to expend energy equal to the skill's cooldown. At the end of the action, you can choose to go into sleep state, which will make him unable to attack, move, or use skills. Upon completion, the unit's HP is restored and 8 to 15% stacks of energy are added. The sleep lasts 1 turn, and this cannot be dispelled and ignores immunity. So yeah, if you want to enter sleep mode, nothing will stop you from sleeping, just to let you know. And also about the part where that the skills does not enter cooldown, you might be thinking on paper, that sounds broken, don't you think? Well, not really, because he has a different mechanic when it comes to how to use those skills, because he has energies, and each energy counts as a 1 turn cooldown. So yeah, for example, if you're using something like a typical skill like air slash, for example, that one is I think it's a 2 turn cooldown. You need 2 energy to do that. That's just an example. That doesn't mean he has it. So just keep that in mind. Just an example. So if there's a skill that has a 2 turn cooldown, he needs to use 2 energy in order to use that, and then that skill will not go in cooldown. I think that's how it works here. Anyways, moving on, let's talk about the skills. So, oh man, there are 5 skills in this one as well. The 1 cost skill he has is Psychic Explosion. Is a 3 turn cooldown, 2 blocks, single target, magic damage, which is a magic damage, of course. So yeah, unlike most of the Guyver he has so far, this guy is a magical unit. So keep that in mind. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.5 times damage, increasing soldiers' damage by 20% before combat. Reduces the enemy's attack and int by 20% for 2 turns. This skill ignores melee damage penalty. So if you for some reason want to go melee, you don't have to worry about the penalty applied to your melee damage. Okay, next up we got Reflection of Energy Beam. This is a passive skill, by the way. When attacking and entering combat, 2 stacks of energy are consumed. The damage received in combat is reduced by 20%, and 30% of damage received is reflected. So yeah, you can tell this is pretty defensive when it comes to like enemies attacking you. So Archanfel, I could say he is Apex material. So yeah, no joke. He can actually reflect the damage done to himself back to the attacker, which is pretty amazing. 2 cost skill, Advent, which is the other skill he had that's unique. It's a 4 turn cooldown, 5 blocks range, I think, and it's a single target. And there's some missed words in there. I will fix them in the Lang Wiki. Of course, I have not made that yet because I cannot confirm what skills they have. So the only way I can get their information is by like they have to be in the game, so that I can get their latest like names for those skills. And keep in mind, like I said earlier, those skills names might change in the global version. So keep that in mind. That's why I'm holding on to the progress I'm gonna make for them. Anyways, when a talent triggers and enters a sleep effect, it can be teleported to other allies within 5 blocks radius and designate as walking agent. And walking agent, what it does is that it bears all attacks from enemies within 3 block radius, and allies ignore class disadvantage for 2 turns. So yeah, even though when he's sleeping, Archanfel's allies will also do the class disadvantage immunity. So yeah, if they're weak against certain classes, then yeah, they don't have to worry about those anymore because Archanfel prevents that from ever happening. So yeah, but however, I don't think it will stop Leon from first striking against infantry though. Just keep that in mind. It's just that the damage that they deal won't be as effective as they used to. Anyways, the active component on this one is teleports to other allies. You can move another 3 blocks and attack. When using this skill, an additional 1 energy will be consumed for every 1 block between the target and itself. After using this skill, the talent selection to enter the sleep effect at the end of the duration would not be triggered, and the amount of turns of the enhanced effect would not be reduced. So yeah, you can tell this skill is actually more like a support kind of thing. So it allows you to teleport to an ally. Yeah, and then you can move 3 blocks after that and attack. So this is kind of like an assist skill for himself, like that teleports, and also being able to act again. So this is kind of similar to Jace in some ways. But for this one to work, you need to have an ally. You need to have an ally that's like nearby for it to work. So I can see a lot of good plays with that kind of skill. And then next up we got Space Mask. I'm not talking about the one that Sho has. Protective Mask, that one is this one's different. This is for him. When energy is at least 5 stacks, he can't be fatally hit and goes into sleep state when triggered. And this can only be triggered once per map. And which is fair, like having a character with multiple revives, it sounds pretty broken, don't you think? Like Z2 for example. But that one is situational because as long as Z2 already moved and the other enemies have not done the action, they can pretty much finish her off no problem. Anyways, here's more about it. So the active part of this is that actively used to gain command. Other allies within 2 blocks can't be attacked by enemy skills within 3 blocks of range, of course. So any units that are within range of command aura, they cannot be attacked by skills, but they can be attacked by normal attacks. when an enemy moves within the command range. An additional one ability will be consumed. So he's like a portal almost, but it's just that like it's kind of like they're walking on the water terrain, I would say. So Archanfel's 2C skill is pretty versatile. So not only helps your allies, it also hinders your opponents too, which is interesting. And finally, we have the 3C skill, Space Compression, which is a 5-turn cooldown, 3 blocks, 4 blocks AoE. And the passive part of this is that at the start of the round, for every 5 stacks of energy you have, the damage dealt will increase by 10%, up to 40% of this turn. For this turn, of course. And then the magic damage attacks all enemies within 4 blocks radius, dealing 0.4 times AoE damage and causing teleportation, which causes enemies hit to change positions. At the same time, the special effect Unstable Space is applied to the center of the target for 1 turn, and is a command kind of thing. Enemies within 2 blocks around have a 30% chance of being randomly teleported to an adjacent block at the end of the action. And this one takes higher priority for terrain coverage. So it's kind of like the level of Jace in some ways, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes in the game. Okay, and finally, let's talk about Agito or whatever, Agito. I'm sorry again if I mispronounce it because I never watched Guyver, so bear with me. So, anyways, Agito is a free SSR unit, and he won't be on the banner, so don't try to pull for him because you will get him for free from the event. And his talent is not his talent. So, anyways, his class is infantry. His factions are Strategic Masters, US Legends, and Heroes of Time. And the talent here is called Jawman Ambitions. At the start of the action, you will receive 1 stack of Ambition, which will increase your attack and defense plus 6%, which can be stacked up to 5 stacks. And this can be lasting for 3 turns. When an enemy is eliminated, all ambitions will be refreshed to their max duration. If he has 3 or more stacks of ambition, mobility plus 2. With 5 stacks of ambition, damage dealt plus 20% when actively attacking. And after combat, can move another 3 blocks. So yeah, if you have like 5 stacks already on ambition, you have the most of it. Like you have the greatest value for Agito here. So yep, you can already tell this is gonna get pretty interesting. Especially this guy is free. So if you have him for free, then you're gonna be pretty well good out there. And is he PvP material? We'll see how his skill does. So anyways, these are his skills. A Soundwave Burst, which is the 1 cost skill, is a physical damage type here. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1 times damage, and has a 50% chance to apply a random debuff to the enemy after combat. If you have melee soldiers, they will also attack. This skill ignores melee damage penalty. Okay, next up we have the 2C skill, Biological Heat Gun. 3-turn cooldown, 6 blocks, 1 line's AoE. And this one attacks all enemies in a straight line, dealing 0.33 times AoE damage. Before attacking, remove up to 3 debuffs from yourself. For each debuff dispelled, skill damage plus 10%. And then the next skill he has is a Gravity Crit. This is basically the same one as Sho's. So yeah, I'm gonna explain again probably how it works. So it's a single target dealing 1.5 times damage. And then any enemies with mobility buff on there that got hit by this will be converted to mobility -2, and they won't be able to guard for 1 turn. And this cannot be dispelled. And yeah, like I said earlier, this is the same as Sho, so I'm not gonna say too much about this because it's the same thing. And the other one right here is also Sho's skill on Agito or Agito. So anyways, High Frequency Sword, a 2-turn cooldown, 1 block, attack range, and a single target. So this one does a single damage enemy, and it's like dealing 1.3 times damage, dispelling 2 buffs from the enemy before combat, and this one ignores 20% of the enemy's defense. And like I said earlier, this skill is the exact same as Sho's. So yeah, you can already tell this is gonna get pretty interesting with 2 units with the same skills. I mean, kind of interesting though, because in CN, I'm pretty sure they're both that's what the skill that they have. So some might be thinking there could be some errors, but I don't think there are any errors because they kind of did that intentionally. So yeah, you could already tell what's going on here. So next up we got chest particle cannon. This is his three cost skill, and it's a 4-turn cooldown, 2 block single target. And the passive component is that if your ambition reaches the max stack limit at the end of the duration, you will receive a random buff. And this is the active component of this is a physical damage. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.6 times damage. Attacks first before the enemy. If the enemy is eliminated, reduce the cooldown of this skill by 3 turns and gains an additional stack of ambition. If you have melee soldiers, they will also attack. This skill ignores melee damage penalty. So you could already tell this skill is pretty solid, even though it is short, but it's actually pretty powerful. All right, I think that's enough rumbling for this part here because I've been taking a lot of time to reviewing what those units are, especially on the 3 new heroes settings. Like, holy moly, a lot of explanation here. Anyways, we're moving on now. We're moving on to the banners, what to expect here. So, anyways, here are the banners we have here. So the first week obviously is the Guyver banner, featuring Sho Fukamachi and Archanfel. And this will be running on the 25th of April all the way to May 22nd. And then on week 2, starting on May 2nd, all the way to May 15th, this will be featuring a radar banner for Hilda and Elma, as well as the Wish banner for Langrisser 1, 2, and 3. And then for week 3, starting on the 9th of May, all the way to the 22nd of May, this will be featuring a Destiny banner for Theon, Elise, and Lostum. And then the Wish banner for Langrisser 4 and 5. And finally, on week 4, we will begin on the 16th of May, all the way to the 29th of May. And this will feature 2 Destiny banners. The first one featured Julian, Bernardine, and Patsier. And then the second Destiny banner will be featuring the classic units such as Elwyn, Leon, and Bernhard. And also keep in mind that the Guyver units here they're collab. So once that duration is over, they're not joining the general summoning pool. So if you think about pulling for them, this is your only chance. Because those units are unique in their own ways. So if you think about skipping this, then yeah, you're probably not gonna get them the next time. So just think wisely. You want to have them for the collection purposes, or you're just going to skip them because they're not part of your factions. Either way, the choice is yours. I myself will be summoning for those because they're limited after all. It'll be unfortunate if I miss them out. If I miss out on them for a very long time because those collab reruns don't actually happen nowadays anymore because I don't know what's going on with Zealand lately because they are kind of holding back on rerunning old collabs. Like, we haven't got collab with Trails of Cold Steel, actually. Come to think of it. And Overlord hasn't got rerun either. And so on, by the way. Maybe someday we'll see them getting rerun later on, but as of now, I don't see that happening. Not even in CN. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the what events / changes to expect. So we got 2 events here. So the first one, of course, is Guyver crossover event. This is where you get that free unit, Agito or Agito. And then there's also that new mode that we've been teased about in the info page in Global recently. It's called Resplendent Conquest. And this is essentially a dice kind of game mode. So we'll see how it closes out. And then the quality of life changes we have for this update supposedly in CN, and that is the background CB, which it already existed for us. So just keep that in mind. Alright, moving on, let's take a look at what we have here. So the new confession and exclusive. So 2 new exclusives this time. So yeah, we'll eventually reach over to the point where we just only have 1 new exclusive because, the game is going to slow down a little bit because, at this point, most heroes we have in the game so far have their own exclusive by now. So yeah, it's no surprise that they're kind of slowing it down a little bit. The only ones that did not get exclusives are the characters that are below SRs. So yeah, with the exception of Lewin because he has SP. So anyways, let's talk about what exclusives we got so far that are new. So the new exclusive, the first one we got is Tormilk. Funny, I actually got Tormilk in the past, like in the last major update where I was doing the free temple. I got Tormilk out of that one. I was like, holy moly, that was my best luck ever. Anyways, Tormilk's exclusive, HP plus 10%. At the start of the turn, the perceptual and rational buff, whichever is greater, will be transferred to the lowest. And the number is 1. When the amount between perceptual and rational are less different from another, hero damage is increased and is a maximum of 10%. So you might be wondering, how does that work? Well, here's an example of how it works. So if your buff A and buff B are at 2, you get the 10% damage increase, which self-explanatory. They both have to be even. But if your buffs end up being like buff A at 3 while buff B at 1, you get 5% damage increase. But if all your stack amount is at buff A but none at buff B, you will not benefit from the damage bonus. So just keep that in mind when you think about like getting full usage for this gear, because you need to have even power on both sides for this to have a maximum damage. And next up, we got one for Prezia. So I heard a lot of people wanted to slot in Prezia in the box nowadays because Prezia is an interesting unit, I could say, because she's capable of doing like a time manipulation for herself, of course. Like basically, she can stop time and also speed up time with her talents. Well, I'm happy to say that her casting. I don't know why I keep saying he. It's a she for God's sake. So, anyways, Prezia's weapon attack increased by 10%. The talent's time flux reduced 1 more cooldown, and the talent's chrono break will have no cooldown when using. So that's actually pretty nice because Prezia will now stop the time infinitely, which is amazing because you get to keep your buffs forever, but at the same time, you cannot access your skills anytime soon because you stopped your own time. Damage increased by 5% for each skill that are not on cooldown. So, yeah, as long as your skills are not on cooldown, you will deal more damage, which is the maximum of 15% if all of them are are not on cooldown. So, yeah, Prezia is going to be great out there. And the new confession we had this time around goes to Lemia. Next up, let's talk about the new casting pattern skills. Light of Genesis is the first one getting it. In plus 5%, 3C Act Again can trigger 2 blocks around allies. Also, plus 1 additional talent stack when after use, of course. So yeah, you can already tell Light of Genesis is going to get really, really more helpful out there when it comes to like when it comes to her the ability to act again after teleporting someone with an assist skill, like teleport or even like a single target strengthen buff, as long as you're standing within the range of like another ally. Well, with this casting, you can actually do just that, but within 2 blocks around the ally. So yeah, this is a huge improvement, and not just that, you also get 1 additional talent stack as well, so that means you get your extra range much faster than you normally would. Next up, we got Caroline. Attack plus 5%. After releasing Turbo Boost, at the end of the action, the mobility of allies within the surrounding 3 blocks will be increased by 1. And this will last for 2 turns. So Caroline is a bit of a okay unit out there, but with this casting, I could tell she's going to be more supportive when it comes to mobility. And next up, the long have been waited for Matthew. And surprisingly, I don't think Renier ever got a casting yet. I don't know. I might be wrong here, but I don't know. If that's the case, then yeah, I'm not too sure if Grenier was. I'm pretty sure Grenier is gonna get it later on, but if he doesn't have it already. But anyways, I'll be right back. One sec. Okay, I'm back. And it turns out Grenier does not have his casting yet. Surprise, surprise. So I guess I was right in the first place. So anyways, we'll be seeing Grenier's later on. So anyways, Matthew's casting attack and defense plus 5%. All protagonist allies on in the field and other allies within 2 blocks around Matthew will gain attack and in plus 10%. So yeah, essentially this is like a mini faction buff for him for all protagonists, and also allies within 2 blocks of him will get this benefit. So as long as your units as long as your team is protagonist, you don't have to worry about the distancing between Matthew because they all automatically get this. So just keep that in mind. This is purely for protagonist allies. So yeah, you can tell Matthew's casting is a universal thing. So I don't know. I don't think we have ever seen any casting that does like a utilize the faction kind of thing. So yeah, for Matthew, that's great for him. And finally, we have Freya, all stats plus 5%. When obtaining Rose Parade, which is a 3C faction buff effect, if the basic defense value is higher than the magic defense, the lens phalanx buff will be attained. If it's other way around, you'll get Iron Rose instead. So yeah, you can tell Freya is gonna be really powerful out there when it comes to what kind of fixed damage she will proc. So as long as your defense is higher, you will proc the physical fixed damage. But if it's all the way around, you do the magical instead. So yeah, Freya is an interesting one. So having this on Freya is actually quite nice. And also, before we close off this episode, there's something I wanted to talk to you about for the next major update after Guyver goes away. So the next one, a lot of people are anticipating this update. Ice Moda is coming, or in the game they call it Ice Abyss. And I gotta say, you do not want to sleep on this because she's in fact the first unit part of the LR lineup. So if you think about getting the new rarity hero, you're gonna need to get Ice Moda because obviously she's gonna make some of your battles much easier when it comes to joint battles, like Friday and Saturday joint battles. I've seen someone did the one turn clear with that kind of with Ice Abyss plus the low key Covenant. So if you use it right, you will eventually get this. You will eventually do this like a first turn clear, and I'm not even kidding. If you have the right team, that is. So I'll probably say like AO and Ice Melda on the team in with a 3 player kind of settings. So if you're able to do that with Loki, you can eventually do a one turn clear on that map, which is insane. Anyways, that's about it from me. So I'm sorry if I made this video too long because I couldn't help it because this episode has 3 new heroes and also so many things I need to explain here. So anyways, that's it from me. See you all next time.